What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. It's your man, Governor Wildstar, and I am back here on the Black Side of Liberty, and I have a wonderful guest who I'll be introducing to you momentarily. Of course, first, all of you out there that are watching the show and that are enjoying the broadcast and what I'm doing here on the Black Side of Liberty, please be sure to subscribe, especially if you're watching on YouTube. I'm doing my best to hit that 30,000 subscriber mark, and I'm almost there. So please definitely be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and share any of my videos out there on my YouTube channel of me in court, getting arrested at a debate. Any of those viral videos, please be sure to share, help spread the word about what I'm doing as far as me being involved in the liberty movement. And of course, head on over to my website, governorwildstar.com. You see it right here at the bottom of the screen. Head over to there now. Click on any of the social media icons, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Connect with me. And like I said, please definitely let's help expand our audience and grow as we should be organically without having to pay money for it. You know, they say pay attention. How much does it cost? You know? So if you want to contribute to what I'm doing to help me earn the eyes and ears of the people out there, please be sure to donate as well. Okay. Every contribution help me, boost these videos and have them be seen by more people. And that's definitely what we want, is for more ears and eyes of the public to be turned towards liberty. Speaking of liberty, I got Lady Liberty herself in the house, who I'm about to introduce to you, Miss Caryn Harlos, who is the Secretary of the National Libertarian Party. Thank you so much, Caryn, for being here.
Thank you. It's a truly a pleasure.
Oh, it's a great pleasure for me to have you here on the Black Side of Liberty. So thank you for being here. We also got my man Musegi Jaram Kinjogo, I believe, who says greetings from Uganda. So we got people from Uganda watching as well.
Awesome.
So thank you, all of our viewers out there. And like I said, Caryn, thank you for being here on the Black Side of Liberty. I do have your information down at the bottom of the screen. Just want to make sure everybody out there can connect with you on Facebook, which is Pink Flame of Liberty, and Instagram, which is Caryn Harlos, correct?
Correct. Also got a YouTube channel too. So I heard you pimping yours. I know what that's like. Congratulations on almost 30,000. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've done my best to try and do my best to get those videos seen by as many people. But you know how it goes. It's really the people that carry the weight, making sure that you get those views and notoriety needed to have a video be successful. And I have a couple of videos that have went viral, surprisingly, on YouTube. Has over 1 million views. I don't know how the hell it happened, but it definitely happened with people out there like you watching. You know what I'm saying? So please be sure to share this video with Caryn Harlos, who is also on YouTube. So connect with her there as well. So Caryn, thank you for being here, and you are the Secretary of the National Libertarian Party. We've met at several conventions past before, and have had wonderful conversations. So hopefully we can have that same type of exchange here. But I know a little bit about you. Would you mind, please, telling the people out there who are watching, who don't know who the hell you are, who is Caryn Harlos?
Oh, that's complicated. Sometimes I want to say, what ain't I? Well, obviously, this the Secretary of the National Party, but also kind of more well known in the National Party for kind of being the self-appointed, I guess, lay historian, where I'm the keeper of the records. It's sad. Half of them are now in my house. My poor husband, you've heard of the crazy cat lady. I'm the crazy records lady. They're going to find me under a pile of LP News one day. And I'm also a paralegal by day. And I've been, in my life, I think I've been almost everything. I used to be a bass player in a thrash metal band, a talk show fill-in host on AM radio. What else, man? I've written a theology book that's used at Liberty University. So, owner of a Christian debate forum. So it's been pretty crazy. I don't think there's much in my life I haven't done. One thing I didn't think I would ever do, though, is be political. Like, I didn't even used to vote. Like, didn't like it, wanted nothing to do with it. So, God is funny.
You're right. He is the best comedian. He's the creator. Definitely. But you're right. Most people don't end up just being political. But you have this gift, this niche, or whatever you want to call it, that you would like. You are the keeper of the records, like you said, and that's kind of what you enjoy doing. So it's great that as a libertarian, and someone that is a seeker of knowledge, that we can come to someone like you and be able to find all of that information in one place. So thank you very much for doing that and for using that ability towards, again, a gift that keeps on giving. And for those people out there that are politically inclined and want to run for office, now they can go to those resources that you've compiled and provided for them, and they can do a little digging. And
it's in wiki format, so it's actually for the entire libertarian community to go in and put what they know, because that's the way knowledge is accumulated. So we use the same software as Wikipedia. So it's called Lpedia, and it's basically the wiki of the Libertarian Party. Everyone should. We're not like Wikipedia where we go, ooh, you can't write your own article. Listen, if you write an article that's too flattering of yourself, I trust the other fellow libertarians to edit it down to size. So go and I'm not sure your article's up to snuff, so I'm calling you out. But go and add your little bits of information over to Lpedia, because the media is using it now. And that's where we want the media to go, to us, rather than inaccurate sources. I was going to say unflattering, but I don't want to make it seem like Lpedia is a wiki where it's supposed to be neutral. Like, if there's bad things, there's bad things, but at least it's accurate things, which media tends not to be very accurate when it comes to us.
You're right about that. And if we could give them as much more information as possible, that would be great, because they tend to be lazy. Journalists these days don't really want to do true journalism. They want the story already prepackaged, ready to go, and them to just be able to Google it, find it, deliver it, and it's out there, And
what they really like about us is everything's Creative Commons. So when they find something there they like, they don't have to worry about licensing and all that crap. So if they find something there they like, it's like, yeah, go use it. That's fine. We'd appreciate a link back, but if you don't, you don't. Information to me is free. I'm one of those information is free type of people. I know IP is a touchy subject in the party, but I don't believe there's any such thing as IP.
I'm with you on that. It's a matter of creative control. And we as individuals, as long as we're expressing ourselves, there shouldn't be any censorship of that. And we see a lot of censorship happening on the internet these days, especially on sites like YouTube and Facebook, and even Wikipedia, has censored certain material. Me in particular, I've been censored from Wikipedia unless I pay to have a Wikipedia page created. So that should say something out there for those people that rely on that information. But you talked about, I guess, being one of those people that aren't really politically inclined, but then grew to be so.
I still hate it. I hate politics with the heat of 1,000 burning suns, but you can't. It's. I figured it's gonna get you, so you might as well come out swinging.
Now that's an interesting perspective to go at it full force, head on, you know, and a lot of people shy away from it, run away from
You
politics,
can't.
in itself, right? So for you to jump in, you know, knee deep into the situation is very brave of you, and even just to get involved with a political party. So I guess that's my next question: is what is a secretary? Because a lot of people don't. They probably know what the Secretary of State does, but what does the Secretary of a political party do?
Particularly the Libertarian Party, right? I'm going to get a shirt that says the Secretary of No State. But the secretary, you know, I'm a paralegal. It's kind of like when people say, what does a paralegal do? It kind of depends upon the lawyer you're working with. But as far as right now, you know, you're the keeper of the records, which is perfect for me. So I take the minutes, I start the ballots, I keep track of the votes, I keep track of the archives. There are certain legal requirements, like when it comes time for the candidates or presidential ticket to get on the ballot, there's certain certifications that have to be signed by the party chair and the party secretary. So, you know, I'm one of the officers of the party. So any of the functions that come down to keeping the best interests and the fiduciary duties of the party foremost, that's the role of the officers, and I'm one of 4 officers. I used to be a regional representative, and that was different. Then my interest was the 10 states I represented. Pretty much forget everything else. What's good for my 10 states? Well, it was 9 then. I'm getting confused. Counting, whatever. A lot of states. But now it's more the party as a whole. But, you know, I basically keep the meetings on track and keep things organized.
Excellent. We definitely need more organization in the Libertarian Party. I mean, the party itself, as many people don't know, it is the 3rd largest party in the United States. I mean, it consistently comes in 3rd in national elections and even some major state elections. So the Libertarians are a major party to be reckoned with. And for those people out there that kind of are still figuring out their place politically, I guess what shifted you towards the Libertarian Party in particular, and wanting to get involved with it versus the Republican Party maybe, or, you know, the Democrats even?
Well, as I said, you know, I don't want to say I never voted, but I almost never voted, but maybe I could be persuaded for like the presidential election. So, you know how there's Christmas and Easter Christians? I was kind of like a maybe every 4-year Republican, but it was more so I could get time off from work because they'd let you go vote. And I wanted the sticker. I know I'm terrible. What persuaded me, I actually became a Libertarian over the course of 15 minutes on a lunch break on September 17th, 2014. Yes, I do know the exact date. In a Facebook debate, I happened to, I was in a debate with a group of Christians. And if you think the Libertarian community is cantankerous, don't argue with a bunch of Christians, but and the issue of the day, and you might remember when this was a big thing, there were cities that were putting spikes in the cement of under overpasses to keep homeless people from sleeping there. And these conservative Christians were all for it. And I was just absolutely appalled by that. And I didn't have pink hair at the time. And that's important for a reason, which I'll mention later. But so I was arguing against it, and they, you know, yelled at me and told me, "What are you, some dirty liberal?" And at the time, in the circles I ran with, you would rather be called almost anything rather than a liberal. So in order to get away from that phrase as quickly as possible, I pulled out what I call an ass fact, which is a fact you pull out of your ass to get out of a situation. And it was, no, I'm more of a libertarian, because I heard that word somewhere and it sounded cool. But then after I said it, I realized I didn't know what it meant. And not too long before that, I had used a word that I didn't know what it meant, and it was turned out to be pornographic, and it was highly embarrassing. And I didn't live that down for a while. I mean, it was really bad. And so I said, I better go look this up before, you know, that happens again. So I went to the Libertarian Party site, and read the platform, and that was a come to Jesus moment. And the next browser tab I opened was the Colorado Secretary of State, and switched my voter registration, because I was like, holy crap. I'm like, I never really expressed it, but when I read it, it was like, hey, you know, seeing eye to eye. So my husband comes home. He left me alone. Maybe you shouldn't have. And I said, hey, I've changed my voter registration. And he was like, to what? You don't even vote. And so, you know, I told him, and that was kind of the beginning of the end.
Wow, that's crazy. Especially seeing as you threw out a word that you didn't even know what the hell it even meant.
Just to avoid being called a liberal. That's how bad. Like I ran in very fundamentalist Christian circles at the time. I'm a recovering fundamentalist, and in those circles, you'd rather be called a Hitler than be called a liberal. I mean, that was just like the worst. So, yeah, I threw it out to get out of just that, what I didn't want to be called. And the pink hair comes in now, because now every conversation I go in with people who don't know me, they immediately assume I'm some wild-eyed progressive, because, you know, the pink-haired radical feminist is kind of like the stereotype. And I don't even consider myself a feminist. So I find it funny to break illusions of people who judge people just by how you look, because I'm very opposite from how I look.
Yeah.
But so that only becomes relevant then, because, you know, some people might be going, of course they called you liberal, you got pink hair. No, I didn't have pink hair then. I was very respectable. I was just a nice Christian girl, you know. It was
even on the way that you look. I mean, based on that, I feel inspired to ask you liberty-themed questions. You know, it's like I feel like you should be able to answer those questions better than anybody, you know? So with that said, I guess since you came from these conservative circles that now have grown tremendously and have, I would say, become even more fascist and rigid.
Oh, God.
To where that liberal term, it's damning. They want to kill you, and you know, it's like hang a commie, kill a commie, that type of thing. So with the temperature in our the current temperature in our country when it comes to being patriotic and what's going on in our country as far as the argument of criminal justice reform, and we've seen protests of this happen in our sports arenas, you know, football, basketball, whatever the case may be. And people start to protest by taking a knee during the national anthem. And this is simply just to bring attention to the injustices that have happened in our criminal justice system. But you have people out there, a large growing number of people, that think kneeling during the national anthem is an insult to America, and it's a pretty big deal. So since you've been around these groups of people, I want to ask you, why is kneeling during the anthem a big deal? Is it really, or should it not be?
It shouldn't be. But, and again, the conservatism I was involved with wasn't really political conservatism. It was religious conservatism. But in America, religious conservatism, and it's an unholy alliance. I actually was at the Taking Back America for Christ conference in Fort Lauderdale. Like, that's how like into it I was. And I attended Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale, and they had the American flag and the Israeli flag right up there on stage, along with the Christian flag. And now looking back on it, because I'm still a Christian, I'm just not a fundamentalist Christian. I'd call myself a liberal Christian now. I embrace the term. But now looking back, I'm like, you know, that is like so idolatrous. But yeah, it's this weird mix. It's almost like disrespecting the Bible to religious people. Like it's God and country and apple pie. They don't differentiate. And I can't explain it because yeah, the state in general, not necessarily, when I say the state, I don't mean the United States, just throughout history, has not been a friend to Christians. And I don't know why they're cozying up to the state, particularly when Christians, are supposed to be of the kingdom of God, not of earth. But in America, it's really, really bizarre. And Christians from other countries find it absolutely unfathomable. So can I explain it? No. But it's a religion. It's almost like the last book of the Bible is the national anthem. That's that's the last hymn in the book of Psalms as far as American conservative Christians are concerned.
It's crazy because, again, we're living in this free country where there's supposed to be a separation of religion and state. But we don't see that. Like you pointed out, here in America, the two pretty much go hand in hand. To be American is to be Christian and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So,
and in my church, when I became a Christian, I didn't become a Christian until age 29. I wasn't raised Christian, and I was a Democrat when I became a Christian. But in those circles, if you were Christian, you were Republican. That's the only reason I switched, because I didn't care about politics. But no. With your church membership came Republican Party membership. That's just the way it went. And I didn't even care. It just, okay, that's what I'll do. And why? One reason, it was all about the abortion issue. For conservative Christians, it's all about the abortion issue. Mm-hmm. They don't really care about much anything else, at least, again, in the circles I ran in, which the Calvary Chapel movement's huge. At least it was in Florida. They were the biggest church in Florida. And go to show you hypocrites, the pastor then, I'm not trying to diss anyone, I'm not going to say his name, but this happens, turns out, he was diddling all these women in the congregation, had to be chased off in shame, because that's what happens, right? These people who put themselves up on a pedestal, do as I say, not as I do. Mm-hmm. And it gets crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's bad that we kind of rely on these people to be certain, figures of the community, and we look at them as being somewhat saviors, especially politicians, when they should not be. We should be our own saviors. We should. Well,
but it's funny. I'm sorry, I interrupt a lot. Just tell me shut up when for the more liberal set, it's the movie stars. So, with the more conservatives, maybe you got your religious superstars, your religious leaders, but then you go to the more progressive side. And I don't even like using the word liberal, because liberal's not a bad word, which I learned. It means something different in America than it means everywhere else. Everywhere else, libertarians would be liberal. Right. So that's why I like using progressive, because that's better. I think they idolize, they care what movie stars are saying when they're getting their awards. It's like, you're a good actor. I do not give a shit what you think about anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care.
You have musicians like Kanye West who think they're, clever enough or wise enough to be running for president of the United States of America. And this is somebody who can't even read the basics of
But let me tell you, listen, I got a soft spot for Kanye. So listen, you never can judge on who you got soft spots for.
That's
but
fine.
yeah, no, Kanye.
Come on. He is not fit to lead this. This is
no, but he's just so entertaining.
Well, let's leave him there on the stage where he's entertaining. But speaking of which, since you brought that up, because that's a very good question too. Here in this country, you have the conservative group, you have the liberal group, you have the progressive group, you have all of these different groups that tend to dictate what truly is American. Black people, white people, whatever group that may be. Who is it in America that gets to decide what is un-American?
You do. For yourself. I mean, isn't that supposed to be what America's about? To me, I thought we were all about the individual. But apparently I was wrong. I used to think feminism was all about, women's choices. And I found out, it's only certain choices.
And just like what we were talking about, the kneeling during the national anthem, I personally don't care. You know what I mean? To me, it's not something that's an issue that I should be harboring my political choices around, because again, this is a certain arena that has nothing to do with politics. If they choose to make a political statement, then that's their choice. But they're simply entertainers. It's the same thing with the entertainment industry. If they choose to use their platform to speak on political issues, then that's their choice. Now, I'm not going to let their influence me in my own personal choices on what I feel like I should be doing and who I'm supporting. Like Jo Jorgensen, if you vote for her, you're throwing your vote away. Well, aren't you doing the same thing if you vote for Biden and you're a Trump supporter, or you vote for Trump and you're a Biden supporter, or a Biden hater? So,
there's so many good arguments against that. But I'm going to say something like in defense of, for like what Colin Kaepernick was doing. These movie stars, when they're getting their awards and then they make it political, they're totally interjecting that uninvited. On the football field, those players are thrust into being asked to do this political ritual. They didn't ask for that. That is thrust upon them. And they make then a decision whether to participate or not. So I think there's so much more justification for those sports players to make a political statement than there is for the movie stars. And funny enough, before I was even libertarian, because of that whole thing with the flags on the stage, which started to really bother me, I stopped observing the whole flag rituals myself. And this was about maybe 4 years before I became a libertarian. And you get harassed. And it wasn't for police brutality or anything like that. It was simply religious convictions that I said I will not say a pledge to a cloth. I just found pledging allegiance to a cloth or even to a country completely repulsive to my religious values, and I refused to do it. And I still do, as not political. It's completely a religious conviction, though if tomorrow I became an atheist, I probably would then do it for political reasons. But right now, it's a religious conviction. I find that completely offensive. And I get a lot of looks to the point where if I'm going to some place where I know they're going to be doing, the state worship, I make sure I have to go to the bathroom during that time. Don't go to any of these events where there's a lot of like country people, like rodeos or things like that, and don't stand. Oh my goodness. Because you're not only risking like you getting ridiculed, if you're with male companions, the other men are going to start bullying them. And then before you know it, you're putting them in danger. Like now they feel like they got to fight to defend you. So yeah. I just remove myself from the situation. It really can get quite ugly and uncomfortable.
Now, see, don't you think that's stupid? Again, if we live in a free country, should we be able to have the freedom to either pledge allegiance to the flag or not, then that freedom be respected by those individuals who choose to do so. But it's not. You can be assaulted physically, verbally, and you will be pigeonholed by you choosing to not participate. And now you are one of those anti-American people. You are not trying to participate in the religiousness of the state. Where, like you said, when it contradicts the religiousness of spirit, why would one want to participate in that? But you do have a lot of evangelical, Christians who feel like if you don't participate in the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance, then you're spitting on God and God's country and, not doing the work of Jesus. Yeah. So it's crazy that they can equate that with you being anti-Christian, anti-God, simply because you are anti-government, which is not anti-country, you know?
No, well, it depends on how you define country. Well. That gets really dicey. It depends upon how you define country. I define country as the people within it.
Right.
So I love my countrymen. And that's what I define as love of country. But some people would include the government and stuff like that, or the idea of our form of government. And honestly, I have no love for our form of government. But I think it's perfectly natural to have a love of the land where you were born and the people you were born among. That's just human. That's just human instinct. And I think people who don't love their countrymen or have some kind of special affinity for the land where they were born, they're a bit sociopathic, because that's just normal. That's natural instinct that all people have, no matter where they're born.
Right. Now, we're supposed to be in this country where it's this beautiful melting pot, and we're all supposed to get along. And the radical idea of us being individuals and being allowed to live harmoniously was the reason why this great American experiment even came about. So that's why we're here. And right now, it seems like it's difficult for the individual to be themselves and even just to demand for equality. I mean, whether you're a Black person, whether you're a woman, whether you're a member of the LGBTQ community, or whatever the case may be, have a different sexual orientation. So whatever the case may be, it's kind of like you're prejudiced against. Here in America, where again, you being an individual is supposed to be embraced. Why is it that, since you were a member of the Radical Caucus, I feel like I should also ask you, why is equality a radical concept in a country where, again, it should be, embraced?
And just to clarify, I still consider myself a radical, though I'm not a member of the Radical Caucus anymore. And the reason I'm not is I don't think party officers should be members of any caucus. I think you can't fairly represent the interests of the entire party if you have some kind of factional loyalty. And my loyalties did get kind of divided during that whole Arvin Vohra thing that happened, where the Radical Caucus felt one way and I voted another way. And there definitely was tension. And at that point I said, can't serve two masters. So I determined at that time that I couldn't be a member of both. And I don't think anyone, and I'm not sure if any of our current officers are members. I actually don't think anyone on the LNC should be, but at least the officers I don't think should be. But just to get that out of there, I didn't repudiate the caucus or anything like that. It's just, I'm not a member of any caucus at this point. Well, I think it depends on how you define, though, equality. In some sense, I think it's kind of like the term rights that most Americans today, I don't think really even understand what rights are anymore. And in the same, and unless you have a proper definition of rights, I don't think you could really understand equality. But I think it is a radical concept because we tend to think we have a right not to be negatively impacted in any way. Like, for instance, if somebody wants to use drugs, there might be negative impacts within a family or within a community, but you don't have a right to be free from certain negative impacts. And I'm probably not explaining that entirely correctly. Or let me do something I can make a little clearer. Like, a conservative person might be opposed to having like marriage equality for gay persons because they think it negatively affects their children. Well, they have no natural right to keep their to have everyone else obey, keeping their children in some kind of bubble where they don't see things that they don't like. Mm-hmm. You don't have any right to that. You don't have a right not to be offended. You don't have a right not to be confronted or see things you don't agree with. And unfortunately, people today tend to think that they do. They don't understand what an actual right is.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. A lot of people feel like they should have the right to be insulting towards people or be abusive towards them verbally or physically, and it be okay, simply because they may do something that they disagree with. And
but we have to define okay as well, because, are we talking government okay or socially okay?
Socially and government. I mean, they feel like, all right, if I'm walking down the street and I'm a Black Lives Matter protester, I can be physically assaulted because they disagree with my message. Also, on the flip side, I could be walking down the street, protesting to reopen the state of California or walking around without a mask. And people feel like I should be insulted or assaulted because of me doing so, and it be okay, societally and through government, by them not being criminally charged because of it. So,
well, insulted, I think the government can't make any laws against insulting people. Now, society should enforce certain things. So that's why I asked. I mean, obviously with the government, any kind of physical violence, that's, if they're going to exist, that's their only job. So assault, bad. Assault, wrong, no matter who you're talking, social or government. But when it comes to words, the government needs to stay out of that. That's where communities come into play.
Yeah. I agree with you. I believe that the cancel culture, so to speak, has stepped up to make sure that they're policing the society when it comes to us and our use of words, and making sure that we're, towing the line there, whether it be insulting people because of their race or because of their beliefs or sexual orientation or whatever the case may be, then we should be holding each other accountable, especially if we want to do better. And I think that's the main thing is societally, we do want to do better. It's just, how do we achieve that? How do we start making that progress? And it starts first with us treating each other like equals, as much as basic as that sound, for people to go around and have to be demanding that a group of people's lives matter because they're not feeling like their lives matter should be a large statement in itself. But it's damned, it's sometimes discredited or even ignored altogether. And if, let's say, it was a women's movement and we were going around saying women's lives matter, and, they were shouting it down saying, no, well, men lives matter too, don't they?
Right.
So
they're not getting it. It's funny because it's a symptom of the problem. If someone reacts to a group of people saying they feel like their lives don't matter, and their reaction is to argue with their terminology, I think that right there is exhibit A of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If a group of people feel like their lives don't matter, that's a problem, and we need to deal with it and stop worrying about, well, I don't like their slogan. Really, let's deal with the issue. Now, you might think they're wrong for feeling that way, but try to at least figure out why they feel that way, and persuade, if you think they're wrong, try to persuade them that their perspective is wrong, rather than just immediately dismissing things because you don't like the terminology. To me, that is just the shallowest of thinking. And it's the shallowest of thinking to think saying Black Lives Matter means only Black Lives Matter. I mean, to me, that's just like.
And that's the part about the equality. People
it's
off. And like I said, for a long time, women have been dismissed. Even now, with the conservative Republican side, women are dismissed when it comes to them having a choice over what they're wanting to do with their own bodies, and people feeling like that there should be some legislative process to prevent abortion. So since you talked about abortion being a key issue for those conservative, I guess, religious conservatives out there, because I've come across them also as a candidate, and had to argue, well, I don't want to be able to create any policy that's going to prevent any person from doing anything with their own bodies. And I can say that, and it goes over people's heads completely, especially when it comes to the argument of abortion. So I want to ask you, should women be able to choose what they are able to do with their own bodies? As stupid as it may sound, again, we have people in politics and people in society that support the idea that women should not be able to choose what they want to do with their own bodies, especially in the case when it comes to abortion. What say you?
Okay, well, there's going to be some people out there that are sitting on the edge of their seats right now because this is an issue I'm somewhat known for. It's complex, and my views have greatly, greatly evolved. I don't think the issue's quite so well. First, let me say right up front before people get all triggered by other things. I don't think the government should be involved in the issue. So I'm not in favor of any abortion laws. However, I am pro-life, and I know pro-life in Republican circles means you want laws. I don't want laws. I do think abortion is wrong, and I don't think it is merely a matter of what you're choosing what to do with your body, because it's not just your body. However, it's much more complex than that. And I ended up actually writing a chapter on this. There's a upcoming book, which is it's the anniversary of Hosper's very seminal work on libertarianism. And there's a bunch of essays, and I contributed one of the essays because I think too often we fall into, on either side of the issue, arguing the way a typical progressive does or arguing the way a typical conservative does. And I think the libertarian view on abortion is completely different. I think the libertarian view on abortion is actually an argument based on property rights and contract law and or contract theory law. It sounds very cold, but those really are the principles. And I could go forever and ever about this, but I could give an example. What people say in favor of abortion would be, my body should not be forced to be a life support system for somebody against my will. I shouldn't have to support somebody against my will. And that sounds right on the surface. But there are other situations, even in a libertarian world, where you could be forced to support someone against your will. For instance, if you negligently run somebody over and they're injured, a court could order you to pay a certain amount of money to support them because they can no longer support themselves. And you might not want to pay that money. And how do you get money? You use your body to make money in one way or another. So in that case, we're fine with somebody being forced to support another person. But so what's the difference, or what's the similarity? The similarity would be the person you ran over didn't ask to be run over. You put them in a helpless position through no fault of their own, through fault of your own. And some people would say, in the instance of a baby, that baby did not ask to be harmed. It's solely your action that does that. Okay, but it's not really that easy, is it? Because what if the woman was taking birth control and she was taking it at 2 o'clock every day, just like you're supposed to? Isn't that reasonable mitigation? Like if somebody accidentally shot someone with a gun, but they were super, super safe with it, it was just some freak accident, we wouldn't hold them liable for that. So would we hold a woman liable? So there's so many fact patterns that come into play that for the government to make an accurate determination. I don't think they could. They kill people on death row every day. It would be such an intrusion into personal rights that the cure would be worse than the disease, in my view. So I view it as a purely social issue or a religious issue. So I would never use any kind of force to prevent someone from having an abortion, but I do have a moral conviction that the libertarian position should be that it is aggression if to harm a human being, unless you did everything you could to prevent it and it happened anyway.
Right.
But that's a fact pattern thing. I don't think it's so simple as choosing what to do with your body.
Exactly.
I can't choose to use my body to hit you. Right. So I think when we reduce things to these sound bites, we might not really be dealing with the issue.
Yeah,
but we can both agree the government shouldn't be involved.
Right. And I'm with you on that. I mean, I don't think that the government could or should be trying to regulate what we should be doing with our bodies legislatively. They
can't. Like, they can't run the DMV.
Exactly. And if they want to try, they can't. And it's a slippery slope. One thing could lead to another. Who knows where it could be 10 years, 20 years from now, where now they're telling us anything and everything that we can and can't do with our bodies. Not just women, but men too, you know?
Plus, you know, what happened, you see, pro-life people don't, and I had already come to the position that I didn't believe in laws before I was a libertarian, because I started, you know, just parsing it out. If abortion from conception on were illegal, then logically every miscarriage should be a murder investigation. And do we want to do that? I don't want women who've gone through miscarriage to do that. And if you don't believe that, then you don't really believe it's a human being and that it should be illegal. So right there, I think it shows that maybe, I think when you confront pro-life people with that, they start to maybe, it should cause them to question whether they really believe what they're saying. Because that is the logical consequence. And also, I depart from other pro-life people because of my libertarianism. Absolutely, in the case of rape, abortion should always be an option. And I don't think we should put a rape survivor to have to go ask permission for this, because it was against her will. As I said, it's a tort issue. She didn't ask for that. The baby is not a victim of the mother, then the baby is a victim of the rapist, just like the mother was. It gets really, really, really complicated. And I do think there are justified cases where if the baby, that doctors know with a reasonable medical certainty that it's not going to live, or it's going to just be in such horrendous suffering and then die, that the parents have the right to make that decision. Which is why I don't even support these bans. One's coming up in Colorado that wants to ban abortion after 22 weeks. Even though most people agree at that point, that's a viable baby. But here's the reality. Women with viable babies aren't going in for abortions just because I don't want this kid anymore. Two reasons. One, most women aren't monsters. And two, it's like $20,000 and most women have better things to do with $20,000. So people who are going in for late-term abortions are in dire situations that had to make the most agonizing choice of their lives. And I changed my mind on that by watching a video of women who actually had to make that decision. And they wanted their children. And I don't want to put the law between that. That already was probably the worst thing that would ever happen to them in their lives. Exactly. And they shouldn't have to stand before a court and try to justify this decision they're making for their family.
Right.
And to me, that's the pro-life libertarian view. But people hear pro-life and get very upset thinking, I mean laws. And I don't. I used to. I've changed my mind on this. It takes time. But this is part of the problem I think we have in this party. We get a lot of pro-life people into this party and we promptly run them off rather than giving them time to evolve their position the way I did. I've been treated like shit in this party leading up, even where I'm at now, people won't accept that I don't believe in laws. The very fact that I use the word pro-life, people tell me I don't belong in the party. And it's crazy. It's absolutely, it's crazy. I don't even want to like get into how nasty it can be. I go into the Joe Jorgensen groups right now, pretty much just to monitor that, because I see people being run off and I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Listen, I'm going to be clear with you. The party does not believe in laws. If you're cool with that and can still join the party, you're welcome.
Yeah. Why is that so hard to understand that people can be anti-law, but, you know, still be supportive of some kind of, cohesion in society? Like, people think automatically without any laws that we're going to be evil towards each other and there's going to be dangers left and right. And all of a sudden it's just going to be chaos. We're civil human beings. Laws don't, most people. And laws don't create that atmosphere for us. We do, just as civil human beings. You know, when you go out to a restaurant or a movie theater or a school or whatever the case may be, people are actually treating each other peacefully and kindly, and that's the norm. So we're also perpetuated into this environment where we think or fearful mindset that our environment is going to be one that's dangerous and that needs to be controlled. I think that's more so why people support laws, and by thinking that we regular people could sit behind a desk and create a law to control another individual and what they do with their own body. So it's sad that we see that happening, you know, in our society, but also in groups like the Libertarian Party, which is this forward-thinking movement that wants to eradicate these laws and these control over us as human beings. So hopefully more people will expand their minds. I mean, I'm pro-life, but like you said, I'm anti-law. The two can coexist, and it can exist if we were to get more libertarian, legislators in office, more libertarian politicians. That way, people can actually see how less laws will create a better society for us all. So we definitely need to have some more discussions about this as a society. I think it's more so one that we should be having outside of the political arena.
Yeah, it's not a political issue. But here is the part that is. You want less abortions, make it easier to get birth control and make adoptions easier.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can tell you one thing. I've had two abortions myself, and a lot of people then say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite." Well, remember, I used to be very, very liberal at one point, and I mean liberal. I hate progressive, I guess is the word. And so they go, "Oh, you're a hypocrite." No, I've just changed. We can all change. But I can tell you from my own experience, I was never offered. One time I was 18 and the other time 21. And I was never offered any alternatives. The alternatives before me were have a kid that I was not in any way equipped to raise, nor did I ever want children, or B, have an abortion. No one ever told me that there were even then programs where all of my expenses would have been paid. I could have met adoptive parents and adopted the baby out. Now, would I have made that choice? I don't know, because it was never offered to me. And there are actually some pro-choice advocates that say, "Oh no, you can't be on because you're trying to shame the woman into not having an abortion." No, you're just offering her choices. And I can tell you, I was never offered any of those choices. Would I have done it? I could say probably not. But I might have but probably not, because I was young and vain and I didn't want a big belly and, all those little superficial things. But I was never offered it. And the abortion industry is, one day I'm going to do a podcast called A Tale of Two Abortion Clinics, because I've had two. One of the experiences was wonderful, and one of the experiences was a nightmare. The wonderful one was from a very, very private abortion clinic, and the awful one that if I was smarter, I would have sued the fucking living hell out of them was Planned Parenthood.
Wow.
It was Planned Parenthood was an abortion mill. They were awful. They did not give a shit about me. The private place and the costs were about the same. They were the most caring, loving people that really, I could tell, loved women and really felt for, they cared for you and what was going on, even though they could have done better and let me know about adoption options. But still, people who are holding up Planned Parenthood as some kind of model, I can tell you a horror story. And the clinic I had went to was in a very poverty-stricken, predominantly Black neighborhood. And I can tell you, if that was my experience too, as being more from more of a privileged place with a little bit more money, I cannot imagine what the women poorer than me were going through.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there definitely needs to be some exposés. I think those are censored as well, to prevent from Planned Parenthood from having a bad reputation and from them to no longer receive government funding, and supplemental funding from taxpayers.
It was horrible. And I'm sure one day someone from Planned Parenthood is going to say I'm a liar, and we're going back many, many years. The records probably don't exist, but I would waive all of my HIPAA rights. If those records still exist, get it. Prove my story, because I could tell you I was there and it happened.
That's crazy. Yeah, and like I said, I think more of these conversations need to be had. More experiences. Women's experiences need to be heard, because I mean, having a baby is already a life-changing experience, and to have to take that life away, I'm pretty sure is traumatizing for a woman to have to do it at any point, whether it be the beginning stages of the pregnancy or more towards the end. Having to lose that baby on because of their own choice or by an accident.
It's not an easy choice, and the demonization's not working. And
exactly. That's where I'm with you on that. We need to stop demonizing women for their choices. Stop demonizing people for their choices, period, here, and especially in America, where we're supposed to be the land of opportunity, the land of many choices and options. Then we should be free to explore any and all options without persecution. So I appreciate you for answering all my questions, because none of my guests ever really know what I'm going to say. And I do my best to kind of, speak about as many different broad issues as possible. So I thank you for being here on the show. And like I said, for answering all the questions that I've asked you as honestly as possible, Caryn Ann.
Oh, I super appreciate it. And let me tell you, even on the shows where they go, oh, we'll send you the questions ahead of time, I'm like, nah.
What's the point, right?
What's the point? And if you're going to be in the political sphere, you've got to be able to just answer things.
Exactly. Absolutely. Got to be on your toes.
You do. And you have to be. Listen, Trump taught us one thing. Well, he's taught us a lot of things. But one thing he taught us, and he taught us in the bad way, but I think we can use it in the good way. How did such like an obnoxious troll win? And I could tell you why. Because he is genuine. He's a genuine troll. And people like genuineness. They're tired of plastic people. And they're so tired of plastic people that they at least went for the genuine, horrible person. Right. So I think that as libertarians, I think we need to just learn to be real, genuine people, which will mean don't be hiding what we really believe. Oh, they'll get scared. No, people will know you're being honest. Right. And people like that. If Trump hasn't taught us that, we have never learned anything in the world. That human beings know when they're being bullshitted. And politicians just bullshit today. We need to be the opposite. The complete opposite of that, like in software, there's that term, what's it, WYSIWYG? we need to be WYSIWYG, and that there's no putting on airs, there's no pretenses. Mm-hmm. And what's great about that is you don't need to remember what you pretended to be yesterday so that you can be consistent with that. It's like trying to keep track of your lies.
Right.
It can get exhausting.
It can be. And a lot of people out there, they just get caught up in the web of lies and don't know where they start and where they end. So hopefully more people will appreciate the genuineness of your character and do all that they can to support all of what you're doing out there for the liberty movement and we the people. So everybody out there watching, again, this is Caryn Ann Harlos, who is the Secretary of the Libertarian Party of America. So please check her out on Facebook, Pink Flame of Liberty, or on Instagram at Caryn Ann Harlos. And she also has a YouTube channel. So check her out on YouTube, as well as the Lpedia, right?
Lpedia. Yeah, Lpedia is the wiki. That's the collaborative wiki. So, oh crap, I forgot I have a podcast too. I'm terrible. So the YouTube channel is Pink Flame of Liberty, easy to remember. But the podcast is the Big L Podcast, and our tagline is size does matter, but it's a joke. Size of the L, that's it. Don't dirty minds, everybody. So it's all very Libertarian Party centric thing, because there's a lot of general liberty stuff, not that much very Libertarian Party centric stuff, which is more what I do. I don't do very much general. I'm a Libertarian Party partisan, I'm a party arc, as they say. So shamelessly at this point.
I guess I am too. Happy to be a party archist with you. Hopefully we'll be talking again soon, again on her podcast, which is Pink Flame of Liberty, or the Big L Podcast, right?
And YouTube, Pink Flame of Liberty, whatever. Listen, the LNC meeting is going to be in California, in either Ontario or Riverside in December. I don't know how far that is from you, but just a heads up.
Hey, just invite me and I'll do my best to be there, definitely.
Awesome. I'll keep you posted as to where it's going to be.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, Caryn Ann Harlos, for being right here on the Black Side of Liberty. You take care until next time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That again, everyone, is Caryn Ann Harlos, who is the Secretary of the National Libertarian Party. Please be sure to check her out on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel called Pink Flame of Liberty and a podcast called the Big L Podcast. Check her out right here, Facebook at Pink Flame of Liberty, as well on Instagram at Caryn Ann Harlos. So connect with her. Let's spread the flames of liberty and make sure it's burning all over the country. It's happening right here in California. I'm sure you guys have heard about the wildfires here in California, but it's not the type of flames of liberty that we want to be fanning. So if you want to fan the flames of liberty that will liberate we the people, definitely be sure to support my campaign to become the next governor of California. Head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Wildstar, 4 Gov. All right. Check that out right here, right now. You can contribute to my attempt to become, again, the next governor of California. I'm attempting to hit $10,000. I need to hit $10,000 in campaign donations before the end of the year. That is my goal, to make sure that I'm able to cover all the expenses for traveling, for filing as a candidate, and all of that good stuff. So $10,000. Be sure to head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Wildstar, 4 Gov today, and make a contribution as soon as you can. And also, for those of you that don't want to contribute to my campaign, but want to get Gavin Newsom out of office, please get involved in the Recall Gavin 2020.com recall petition. This is a current petition to recall the governor of California, who is Gavin Newsom. If you haven't heard about him, just Google the guy. He is an awful governor, and we, the people of California, would like to remove him. So please assist us in our efforts. Head on over to recallgavin2020.com. Donate to those efforts. So you can help get some petitioners out there, help get some extra publicity, since it is being censored by the mainstream fake news outlets. We want to make sure that all of the people in California know about the recall, and that's only going to happen with a little bit of promotion. So please head on over to recallgavin2020.com, print out the petition, sign the petition, and circulate that petition if you haven't already. And if you like to get involved on the grassroots level in organizations such as We Have Rights, please head over to wehaverights.org, which is a nonprofit organization who has been very instrumental in mobilizing tens of thousands of Californians to demand the reopening of the state. We've been putting pressure on Gavin Newsom, letting him know that we want to reopen businesses, letting him know that we want to reopen schools and churches, and we want to get our lives back to normal here in California. So head on over to wehaverights.org, wehaverights.org, if you want to get involved with the organization with yours truly. And for those of you that aren't able to get involved but would like to see us be as successful as possible, please head on over to wehaverights.org and make a donation. Just click on donate up here at the top and make a contribution to what we are doing today so we can have more successful rallies. And of course, all of you out there that would like a psychic reading, please come back tomorrow, where my wife, Crystal Wildstar, will be providing psychic readings to any and all of you out there on my Governor Wildstar channel. So if you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit subscribe so you can be sure to get that updates for Crystal Wildstar, Lady Wildstar, providing psychic readings right here on the Governor Wildstar YouTube channel. Or you can head over to Facebook and enter in Crystal's Healing Arts. Find her, my wife, right here on Facebook. Connect with her, and you'll be able to see those live videos tomorrow. Every Wednesday, Crystal Room Wednesdays, right here on the Governor Wildstar YouTube channel. All right. And of course, if you guys enjoyed the Black Side of Liberty, be sure to come back Thursday, where I'll be speaking with Moses West. This time for real. Moses West, creator and founder of the Moses West Foundation, who develops atmospheric water generators. They are machines that create water out of thin air, literally. So we're going to have Moses West on the Black Side of Liberty for real, this time Thursday, September 24th. So please be sure to come back then, where we will be talking to Moses West. Okay, so all my beings of light, art, culture, and knowledge out there, please definitely come on back again Thursday, where I will be speaking with Moses West. Thank you again to my guest, Caryn and Harlos, Secretary of the Libertarian Party, for coming on to the show today. And again, all of my beings of light, art, culture, and knowledge, I'll see you next time right here on the Black Side of Liberty. Till then, long live liberty, y'all. Peace.